Okay, we're back, and today we're speaking with Diane Light about the different kinds of healing modalities that she uses. Before the break, Roger was about ready to ask a question. So Roger, let me throw it to you.
So how did you go? Yeah. So how did you go from not wanting to heal people to healing your friend to moving to Arizona to getting into what it is that you're doing now, which is healing the heart work?
Well, I don't know that there's a short answer for that other than I just listened to guidance from the universe and followed that guidance. 'Cause it's not really me. You know, that the healing from the heart is a name of a business model, right? Because
Okay.
I realized everything that I do is from my heart. And that when people heal, it's from their heart. But truly, it's healing through the heart. Because it's the energy of the great spirit or divine essence, soul, source energy that comes through our hearts. You know, when I was telling you before how I did the work with my hands, right? That was all energy I brought from above and below and brought it through my heart into my hands. So that's kind of where that name came from. It all comes through the heart, from the heart. And but it's not me at all.
Right.
It's not me. And so what I started to realize is that in answer to your question, when I got here, right before I got here, I started doing some work with people to help them reorganize their house. They had been injured and they had a 3-story house, and she was an older woman and she knew she wasn't going to be in the house, you know, another 50 years, but she could only stay on one floor. She drove into the back, kitchen, and then she had her bedroom. So we brought what she needed from the other floors, and we created a space for her on one floor. And then we took it the next level. We started going into the other rooms. She couldn't do that because of her hip. She couldn't move, but she would tell me what she wanted her daughter to have, what she wanted her son to have, and what she wanted her other son to have. So I started packing those things up and putting them in boxes with names on them. And then in the downstairs, I had places in the big downstairs room where I had boxes set aside. So when her kids came, they could just take what they could take in their car back to wherever they were going. So when she did get ready to move, it made it a lot easier for everybody because she'd already made arrangements, right? So that started me thinking that, you know, there are people out there that need some help like that. And so that's what I started doing when I got here, as I started working with people, and it's just evolved. Like I've helped people move, I've helped people unpack. They got all these boxes that they've had in storage for 20 years. They don't even know what's in them. And we start unpacking them and start setting their house up. I'll set their kitchen up. I'll set their meditation room up. And I've been taken to Texas. I've been in California. So people have actually flew me in to do this work. So it's been kind of exciting. I like traveling.
That's awesome.
You know, you were, yeah, it's a pretty interesting thing that you're doing with that. And you know, in the bio or the information for the show, you were talking about how people have attachments to their things, to their stuff. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah. You know, I worked with Mother Mary in a class, a woman who channels Mother Mary out of Everett. And she had a mentor class for about a year. And we did a lot of different things. But in that class, one of the things she started to talk to us about was how energetically our articles that we have around us, whether it's a table or a hutch or something, paperweight, right? It contains energy. And so what she said is like, if you go to Hawaii, and you got this from Hawaii, right? And it was when you were married to your ex-husband. And, you know, it's not that you have a bad relationship with your ex-husband or anything like that, but, you know, it was then. But you've got this, and it's in a drawer because don't really want it out, because you don't really want to remember. I mean, yeah, it was kind of an icky time. But you want to remember Hawaii because Hawaii was really nice. But the thing about it is that this contains that memory. And the memory really belongs in your heart. So when you give this away, when you let this go, then the memory is absorbed into your heart. So instead of having all your memories in the stuff sitting around your house collecting dust or in a drawer not being used, you can integrate them. And that's really what the fifth dimension is about integration. So as we're moving into that higher frequency and that higher dimensional shift, you know, it's integrating all of ourselves. You know, we're fractals of beings, you know that. We live in many, many dimensions at one time. So the fifth dimension and that higher vibrational frequency is about pulling all of them together and moving in as one unit, as a collective
Becoming whole.
consciousness and becoming whole.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to help people. You know, how is it serving you? And if it's serving you, that's great. I'm not a proponent to live, you know, like as a monk. I have stuff. Actually, I got here, I had nothing. I lived in a 17-foot RV with as much free space as a regular kitchen table. So I didn't have a lot. And I look around at my house now and I wonder, where did all this stuff come from?
We do tend to collect things, don't we, in our lives?
And then doing what I'm doing is very dangerous because people are always wanting to give me things.
Give you stuff.
Here, Diane, take my junk.
Do you like this? It's like, no, yeah, I love it, but no, I can't. No.
Yeah, I don't need it. Thank you. Thank you. So when you, who benefits from this kind of work? Is it, generally speaking, anybody, or is there a specific kind of person that's, you know, prone to holding on to energy? Or because I know you talk about how sometimes even illnesses can come through the stuff that you're holding.
Well, yeah, I don't know about the illness part of it. I'd have to really think about what you're talking about there.
Well, I mean, you have here, if we stay rooted in the third dimensional old world, the characteristic frequencies no longer match harmoniously. Our bodies become ill and we experience pain. When we can fully be present in our hearts and lovingly embrace a perspective of unconditional love, we can move forward into the fifth dimensional new world. Okay. As a part of what the work is that you're doing.
Okay, so now I'm on board with you because I'm trying to think of how my stuff is causing illness, which it probably could. I'm not saying it won't. It has that energy, or, you know, somebody's stuff. But as far as people who benefit from the work that I do, you know, these are people that really want to make a change in their life. Mm-hmm. They want to move forward. They want something different. You know that old saying, if you know, the insanity is thinking you're going to have something different, but continuing to do the same thing over and over and over, you know, and have a different outcome. So those are the people that really benefit. It's that where they've tried everything and there's no reason for them not to have joy in their life. So those seem to be the people that I'm seeing a lot of. I do not work with hoarders. Mm-hmm. That's an illness that is beyond my capabilities. I just, you know, you just end up cleaning or organizing their place. And then within a couple of hours, they've got it filled back up. And that's not what I'm, you know, and Roger said something about, I forgot how you put it now, but you said something about healing. And one of my responses I heard in my head is that I stopped working with people who want to be fixed. I don't have time for that. I don't have tolerance or time. You know, people used to come in and lay on my table and want me to fix them. They didn't want to have to do any of the work. Mm-hmm. Sure. And that's really not how it works. So that, I don't do that. But as far as what you were talking about in that bio is what I've noticed is that when people live in fear is very much a third dimensional, lower vibrational state of being.
Yes.
Where love and trust and faith is all part of that fifth dimensional state of being. And so, you know, when 2012 came and our universe moved into that fifth dimensional state of being, the universe did, right? Our planet, we were so far behind that our planet and the people on the planet, not ever having done this before, it's taken us a while to catch up. We're having to, you know, and we have growing pains in that way. So what I meant by that was when we were birthed into that in 2012, when we were birthed into that fifth dimension, most of us still have a foot in the third and a foot in the fifth. And what I've noticed is when people are straddling that fence, that there's a lot of confusion.
Mm-hmm.
It affects the way we think, and it affects the way we're trying to figure things out. There's confusion. It's
right.
a mental, emotional thing. When we're both feet are in the third dimension, it's really uncomfortable. It's not a comfortable place to be. And I'm seeing that the people that still live in a lot of fear, because energetically we're in a higher vibration. Universally, we're in a higher vibration.
Right.
But physically, individually, we're living in that fear and that older energy. It creates pain and it creates illness in the body because there's not a sync up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then when we're fully rooted in the fifth, it's just about joy. There's joy and bliss. It doesn't mean that, you might not stub your toe and have some pain, or that a relationship might end and there's some pain in that. But there's still an acceptance and a joy and a bliss that's an underlying factor that when you're in that fifth dimensional state of being. That's what that came from. So as far as getting rid of your stuff, a lot of the stuff has to do with some of those hurts. A lot of those stuffs has to do with pasts. Your past. So what are you I love this picture of this person with like all these suitcases packed onto their back.
Yeah, carrying it all forward with them.
Yeah, and a lot of that stuff it's not even yours.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up, because I had an experience in May when I was in Spain, and we were walking on the Camino, and it was my second time there. And the first time I went 200 and some miles, and I carried my pack all the way. And so I get there this time, and the first night that we're staying somewhere, somebody tells us, "Oh, you can have your bag shipped to the next stop where you're going to stay for like €3." It's like, oh, that's good. I'm going to do that. So the next morning we left our bags and we're walking, and all of a sudden it's like, what are other people going to think? What are the people that have walked the whole way till here going to think? It's like, I'm not really doing this, right? So I get into this whole thing, and but it's actually a really positive dialogue, right? And it's like, well, this is just your stuff, and it's okay to set your stuff down and leave it there and just walk, and it doesn't really matter what other people think. And so a little while later, it's like, I'm thinking, well, I could carry Kathleen's stuff, like her little bag, right? And then it hit me. It's like, wait, we carry. If I'm not okay carrying, if I'm okay not carrying my stuff, but then I start thinking, well, that's not good enough.
Let me carry hers.
Let me carry hers. And so we all do that, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the next morning, I wake up, day 3. It's like, well, I learned that lesson yesterday. I can carry my bag again. So Kathleen sends hers ahead, and I put on my backpack and I start walking. And probably within 2 hours of walking that morning, excuse me 1 second. I rolled my ankle.
Oh.
And then a few minutes later, I tore the ligaments in my ankle rolling it again.
Ouch.
Twice?
Yeah. So I carried my pack the rest of the day, and then the next few days I sent it ahead. But the point I'm sharing with you is that, it's like getting that lesson of, putting all of your stuff down and just letting it go, because it doesn't really matter. But then thinking, oh, I need to carry. I've learned my lesson. I can carry it again. And then physically, I hurt myself in the process. And so hopefully I got that lesson. But I think it's kind of really what you're talking about.
It's exactly what I'm talking about. It's like, so you so totally get it, because the stuff on the outside can't exist until it's on the inside. Everything on the inside is projected on our outside. So when you walk into somebody's house it's cluttered and it's messy, that's what's going on the inside. That's what's going on up here. You know, now I worked for this woman as a volunteer when I first got here, and it was a mess. And I just wanted to go in and organize it, but I didn't know enough about the organization to go in and organize it. And she wasn't working with me. And I'd drive all the way over there for 45 minutes, and I would sit there while she would get on the phone and talk to all these people, or people would come in and need her advice. And I'd think, well, is what I'm doing must not be that important to her. So one day, finally, she says, okay, well, we're going to clean off the desk today. And I was like, oh, good. So at the end of the day, I said to her, wow, look at that. You can see your desk. Isn't that great? Doesn't that feel good? And she looked at me and she said, you know, contrary to popular belief, not everybody thinks better when they have a clean area. And I thought, wow, if you really want to believe that, I mean, if that's how you have learned to deal with your crap, then that's fine. But I don't believe that at all. I don't think that that's true at all. But if that's what you've learned, if that's how you defensively have to deal with what you're doing, then that's just a defense mechanism as far as I'm concerned. Because I believe that whatever you see on the outside is what's going on the inside. I've just seen it over and over and for myself.
Well, I think it's really fascinating too. You know, right now we live in a 425 square foot yurt, and so you can't have a lot of things. And we have a huge storage unit with all of this stuff in it sitting. It's over a year.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Shows you what you can live with, huh?
Right. But what I also find fascinating is this whole tiny house movement thing that's taking place. Yeah. And I have some friends on the island that just moved into their, 260 square feet floor space.
That's tiny.
With 100 square feet of loft. And it's a couple with a baby. And it's like you look at that and you go, okay, so you can't have a lot of stuff. You can't be cluttered. You can't, and they're not, and they really like it. And you see that it's like this movement now of people wanting to live in tiny spaces and just get rid of all their stuff.
True. I had almost a 4,000 square foot house, and I love my house. I loved having parties there. I mean, I love the house.
In Anacortes, that one you had?
Oh my God, it was beautiful. Mm-hmm. But when I sold the house and people said, well, now what are you going to do? Now that you've had this, how are you going to go back to anything else? I said, I want to live in a little tiny box. It's a little tiny box. So I got a 20-foot motorhome.
There you go.
From one extreme to the other.
It's like, yeah. And now my house here is 965 square feet. It's 2-bedroom. I got a little healing room and a bedroom and a little bathroom. I mean, it's perfect. I won't be here forever, but it's perfect for right now. And I just want to live simply. That's what's important to me.
That's awesome.